Welcome to the RavensSpace on YouTube. My name is Jason, and this is RavensSpace Daily, where we talk to you guys about the Baltimore Ravens news every single day. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll hop right into the news. First, I want to say thank you to our Patreon subscribers. This show and everything on the YouTube channel is brought to you guys by Patreon, the RavensSpace Patreon. We have a new Patreon subscriber. Shout out to Cakes Mitchell. I appreciate it. And we'll hop right into the news. The first news story of the day is the biggest news story of the day and possibly the biggest news story of free agency for the Baltimore Ravens. And that's that the Ravens and Jeremy Maclin have come to a 2-year agreement, which is a great thing. The Ravens offense is finally getting some firepower that it needs. The Ravens offense had a terrible offseason with players like Kyle Juszczyk getting released, Wagner getting released, injuries to Dennis Pitta. It's been a very, very tough offseason for the Ravens offense, but today it got much, much better. And that's because Jeremy Maclin is a receiver that, though I don't think the Ravens needed, I don't think he has the right game to take over the middle of the field. His speed cannot be denied. And he's going to be a good receiver for the Ravens. A lot of people think he's going to start playing in the slot because he played in the slot last year in Kansas City. And they don't know if they want Perryman to be a slot receiver because you're trying to grow him to be an outside receiver like a Julio Jones. And Mike Wallace doesn't have a great command of the route tree. So you don't want him to kind of be in that slot role where routes are very important in the slot role. So you put Jeremy Maclin there. You let Jeremy Maclin, who's a vet, get things done. It's super awesome. I am excited because I wanted a receiver. And right now, you don't get a receiver for the future if you don't draft one. Right now, Jeremy Maclin is better than any receiver we could have received in the draft. So I'm happy about that. I'm excited. A 2-year deal is going to help the Ravens. So we'll see where this goes. Let me know how you guys feel about the signing. I'm excited. I hope the Ravens really use him and we improve our offense this season. The next news story of the day comes from ESPN, and it talks about Nick Boyle and how he's the sleeper pick to fill Dennis Pitta's void. A lot of things go into it. The reason I think they picked him is that because right now, Nick Boyle is the only player getting better. A lot of the tight ends are injured. Ben Watson's not playing. Max Williams is barely playing. Darren Waller is barely playing. But Nick Boyle is, and he's training. He's getting a lot of reps. I think they're going to feel comfortable with him going into the starting lineup. Now, when we talk about Nick Boyle, we have to talk about his game. And this is a football show where we talk about the Ravens, so we have to talk about their game. Nick Boyle is a hard-nosed tight end. And when you see the tight ends of old, they were better at run blocking than they were really at route running and pass catching. And now today you see better receivers at pass catching. But Nick Boyle is one of those players who excels at blocking, and I think he can catch the ball very well. He just has to get better in his route running ability. He has big hands, so he can grab the ball. That's not an issue. What the Ravens want, they want a tight end who can do both. And there's a couple tight ends in the league who I think do both effectively. I think the best tight end in the league is Gronkowski. And Gronkowski not only is it great in the pass receiving part, which we all know, he's a great run blocker. And it's usually because his size, he's not going to get punched around by no linebacker because he's the size of a linebacker in frame, and he's even taller than them. So we'll see. But Nick Boyle right now, ESPN is saying that he's the sleeper pick to fill Dennis Pitta's void. I think that a couple of players like Darren Waller have a better chance because of the passing league. But again, Nick Boyle is the only one getting time. He's the only one getting better for the Baltimore Ravens. And then last but not least, back to receiver news. Adam Schefter on Twitter reported that the Ravens are still in the hunt to get Eric Decker. And so this is very important because we got to know that just because we got Maclin doesn't mean the Ravens aren't getting better. And now I'm for sure certain if the Ravens get Maclin and Decker, they're a playoff team, no questions asked, 10-11 wins, great defense. And with all those weapons, I really do think the Ravens are only going to have to score 20 points a game to win games. I think the defense is going to be that good. It depends on how Tavon Young's replacement plays because, again, a lot of people are using the slot. They're throwing to the slot receiver more than they're throwing to the receivers on the edge. So it does matter. But I think this could make the Ravens a 10-win team, 11-win team easy. And when I say easy, I don't mean week 16, you got 9 wins, you need to get in. Like, I mean, like by week 13, you could have 8 wins, and you have a good chance to get these other ones. So I'm super excited. I hope we do get Decker. I think he's built more for that inside receiver role, but we will see. Eric Decker and Jeremy Maclin, Brashard Perriman, Mike Wallace, that makes us one of the best receiving cores, I think, in the league. So I'm super excited to see. Let me know what you guys think about that as well. And we'll go to the question of the day. And the question of the day comes from Ethan Nelson. And Ethan asked me a question I'm super excited to talk to you guys about. He says, how do you see Michael Pierce fitting into our defense, as in his place in the depth chart contribution on the field? Thank you so much for your question, Ethan. So I'll say this. I love Michael Pierce. I think that he's very similar to Brandon Williams, that short, squatty defensive tackle. A lot of defensive tackles aren't built like that, but I guess the Ravens, enjoy that type of player. I think Michael Pierce is a better pass rusher than Brandon Williams. But Michael Pierce isn't as big as Brandon Williams, so he's not as good as a run defender yet. But as a pass rusher, I think he's better. I think he will see significant contribution on the field. The defensive line is one of the few places where there's constant rotations happening. For example, offensive line does not rotate, not even a little bit. They're the least. And so I think Michael Pierce will get a lot of time, especially on third down situations. I think third down situations, you want to give Brandon Williams a break, you put Michael Pierce in. But I do think it's going to be hard for Michael Pierce to start, simply because he's built so perfectly for that nose tackle role, where he can get under the pads of a center and has the strength to, do that it's going to be hard for him to get on the field when Brandon Williams is also on the field, because I don't think he's a good enough end yet to actually get that 3-4 end spot. So I do think he'll be second on the depth chart. I don't think he'll be a starter. I think he'll get beat out by the other players there, but I do think he'll get significant time on the field. You'll see him on third downs. He'll get a couple sacks this season, lots of stops, tackles or whatever. I think he's a great player. I think he has a good future, and he's actually one of my favorite defensive players on the team, just because I like the way he plays the game. I like the way he's built. I think it's super, super entertaining. Thank you so much for your question, Ethan. And this has been the episode for today. Thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to the RavensSpace on YouTube if you're not subscribed. Follow us on our different social media channels. Again, check out our RavensSpace Patreon, where you can get great benefits. Also, buy our RavensSpace t-shirt. It's super dope. We have new designs coming just for you guys. So thank you guys so much, and go Ravens.